What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and today we are looking ahead to the second playoff round of the 2023 PFL season. It goes down on August the 18th at Madison Square Garden, the famous arena over in beautiful New York. And as always with the PFL, when it comes to the playoffs, it's an interesting card and an interesting time, I suppose, because we have four big fights at the top of this card, and we have, I suppose, some of maybe the up-and-comers, and also a few of not so up-and-comers on this card as well. So it's a very interesting one, I suppose, to whet the appetite onto. And I think for the PFL, they really need a big into this season. I think the last few playoff cards could be good. And when we get into, obviously, the grand finale at the end is with so many $1 million and belts and championships up on the line. It's always amazing, but I do think they need it. It's been a year with a lot of downs, compared to other years, and obviously ups as well, with some great fights and some great underdog wins as well. And Pinedo we saw last week standing out, or 2 weeks ago even, standing out as well. But I think with PFL, though, you always cannot bank on the finale being good. But if a couple of cards come up, they could be good as well. That'd be fantastic. And not to say the cards haven't been good, but we all know, like with the drug test failures and all that happened down through the years, and like through the year even, and some of their best fighters, I suppose, bowing out of the competition either through that or through losing. It's been tough. But as I said previously on one of these videos, I think you look at it this way, and you're going to have some amazing stories. You're going to have guys that maybe were in the wilderness in other organizations, or in the wilderness in PFL, and now they have this massive opportunity to win $1 million. Like, that is absolutely fantastic. And that's something I think everyone involved in MMA and every MMA fan and all would love to see. Someone who maybe didn't expect to get all this this amount of money getting it. And especially this week, I think. I know a lot of people have been tuning into the coverage of the UFC antitrust lawsuit, and I think really thinking again about how underpaid these fighters are and how badly treated the fighters are. Mostly the UFC, because they have the most money and all, but in a world where that exists, to have somewhere like PFL who'll be making multiple millionaires this year again, it's brilliant. It's brilliant, and we can, you could say what you want about everything, I suppose, but that is brilliant, and I think it's part of, I think, what makes people who are real MMA fans love the PFL as well, and instead of lads like, I want this 50 grand because I need it to survive, you've lads like, right, I win a couple of fights and I'm going to get $1 million. That's absolutely massive. And I honestly, I think that's probably understated in terms of people covering PFL and looking ahead to these cards and saying like that's a main reason why PFL are someone you'd like to continue to see doing well going forward. And I'd say the same for Bellator, but other organizations as well, we want to see them all doing well going forward. And as I said with my last Bellator preview, I'll say it again here, like the PFL Bellator merger, is it going to happen? Is it a thing? Is it just reports or whatever? I suppose we will see on that. But with that said as well, you are all of these people in these playoffs, and you're fighting for, your future as well as the long future as well as the short future, because if there's a merger, there's going to be a lot of fighters there. Like, are they going to run multiple tournaments? Is it going to be a real fight to get into the tournaments? Are they going to keep doing tournaments or not? Who knows? So there's extra jeopardy, I think, on the line for all of these fighters as well as we enter into these cards. And with that said, the heavyweights are main eventing here. And again, I've said this at the start of the year, but I'll say it again now. It's absolutely massive for the heavyweights this year compared to other years, and even bigger this year, because you have that elixir of Francis Ngannou. Like, who is Francis going to fight? It feels like every possible fight that comes up that people talk about, it kind of goes by the wayside. You know, you had Phil DeFries won a couple of weeks ago in KSW, and everyone's like, oh, do you know what? He's on a 10-fight win streak in terms of, I think even more of a win streak, but 10 title defenses. Like, could that happen? And then there was like not much talk of it, and I think it kind of got poo-pooed, so that's probably not going to happen. Oh, Derek Lewis, he's out of contract. Could he? And then there's a report he signed a new, what was it, an 8-fight contract with the UFC, and every sort of thing. Like, and the one thing that has kind of always been the constant is there's a heavyweight tournament going on here, and maybe the winner of this heavyweight tournament could be the person. And it's, I said this before, but I'll say it again if you haven't watched the old videos. You get $1 million for winning this, right? But what if you get Francis Ngannou? He has that thing in his contract. Remember from a few weeks ago where he guarantees his opponent $2 million. So if you win the tournament this year, maybe it's a $3 million win, you know? So this is massive. There's probably, like, this could be the biggest tournament in the history of MMA. If you think about it. Now, maybe it won't. Maybe Francis will end up fighting someone else. But it could be. It really could be. So you really, you know, the 4 lads fighting here on Friday night, could ESPN Plus, I believe, in America, and DAZN here in Ireland, UK, and other places as well. Check your local listings for further information. But there could be, you know, win this fight and you get to the finale, like, and it's the biggest fight of your career before the biggest fight of your career. Wasn't that mad? Like, let's say that happens. Let's say Francis is there. You call him out, and you're going to be the next guy. Like, that is massive. Like, as I said, the biggest fight of your career sets up the biggest fight of your career, which is twice as big, with at least twice the pay. Absolutely amazing. So what an opportunity for these guys in the heavyweight division. Let's start and talk about, I suppose, the 2 heavyweight fights. First of all, in the main event, we have Henan Ferreira against Maurice Greene. It's a big betting favourite is Ferreira minus 750 plus 550 for Greene. I thought Ferreira would be the favourite, and he is definitely my pick, but would I have him that big a favourite? I don't think so, and here's a reason for it, right? You look at Henan Ferreira, and the reason you pick him initially to win all these fights, and we'll get into all the reasons, but is his size. He's just so much bigger than everyone else. But he doesn't have that over Maurice Greene. Maurice Greene 6'7", Ferreira 6'8", so there isn't that much of a difference between them and all. Now, when they get in there, maybe it looks more than an inch. You know, that often happens as well. But it's not the 5-6 inch reach advantage he has over some people, or even 3 or 4. It's not going to be that. So I think that at the very start of it adds a different dimension to this fight than most fights for Henan Ferreira. I think, as a matchup, it's pretty interesting as well. You look at Maurice Greene, right? And he lost to Ante Delia the last time, and it's very unfortunate that Ante Delia, you know, I think what was it? He only got 1 fight in the regular season, so he didn't make it into the playoffs. But he's not in it, even though he had a win over him. But he beat Marcelo Nunes, and he looked as good in that fight, I think, as he has maybe ever looked. I think people could argue that. You know, last year, obviously, he fought Denis Goltsov, which is never a great guy to fight, as we'll talk about in a minute as well. But look, he is a guy who's had an iffy record down through the years, make no mistake about that. You know, won a few fights in the UFC, lost a few fights in the UFC, and has always kind of been that, what do they call it, that 500-ish type of fighter. But it's always, I think, him playing the big guy maybe in fights. Let's see how he is maybe playing a game where he is kind of sniping in there and trying to land the big shot inside rather than trying to land the big shot from the outside. Now, I said earlier on he's the same size or similar enough size, and that's problema for the problema in Ferreira. But maybe it kind of plays the other way around as well. You can do different things, and maybe Ferreira will try to do slightly different things as well. I suppose we will see on that. But for Greene, look, you look at his record, and for a heavyweight, I suppose he's not the biggest knockout artist in the world. 19 fights, only 3 wins by knockout in that, 3 of 11, 6 submissions and stuff. So, maybe it'll be looking to get the fight to the ground. Maybe it'll be looking to just get it, into a bit of a sloppy one and see how it can go. He trains with John Jones. He's a good guy to train with. Now that John is up to heavyweight as well, maybe that's a little bit of an advantage for Greene as well. But it's going to be a tough. I'm a big fan. Anyone who has listened to these shows down through the last couple of years knows how big a fan I am of Renan Ferreira. He's everything you'd want in a big, tall heavyweight, really. What is he now? 10-3. If you're wondering why I'm looking around here, right? I as you can see from my background, things are kind of changing here, and I'm in the middle of switching everything around, and my camera has a different position than normal. Everything will be back to normal by the next video, hopefully. But yeah, I'm kind of looking around here. It's blocking my screen. It's blocking my screen. So apologies for that. If you're probably noticing what's he looking around at. But 10-3. 8 out of 10 via knockout. 9 out of 10 inside the distance as well. So, and even his few shots his few fights that he has lost, 2 of the 3 have been inside the distance as well. So he's not a guy that sees the end too much. In fact, when is it? Back in 2021 against Karl Simatofa, who he went to a decision with last, and he won that obviously. But look, when you go in there against Renan Ferreira, you know what you're going in there against, right? You're going in there against a guy who hits like an absolute truck, is massive in size, throws those big up kicks right up through the middle, teeps and everything like that. Now I'll say it again, Maurice Greene trains with John Jones, no better Buckley, no better man, I should say, I went a bit Irish there, to train with for a guy who throws kicks up through the middle, who throws teeps, who uses his length than John Jones to prepare for that. But he's also a bit different to John Jones, and that Jones doesn't have I suppose the ungodly power or the level of fast twitch athleticism. Jones is obviously a very good athlete, but a different sort of athlete to Renan Ferreira as well. Look, you're looking at this fight and you're thinking, how is it going to play out? And it's very hard to see Ferreira not getting the early knockout here, I think. You look at the wins over the last few years. Sheffield round 1, early 50 seconds in. Jamel Jones won round 1. Austin round 1, and go on. It's one of those fights where I think Maurice Greene needs to do all he can not to walk onto a big shot. Don't walk onto the big punch over the top. Don't walk onto the big front kick. Don't walk onto the even a big body kick or a leg kick, something like that. And if you do walk onto a body kick or a leg kick, especially a body kick, which he throws very well, catch him and put him against the cage. Catch him and take him down. Catch him and make him pay. You have to do that. You have to do it. Take your opportunities where you get them. And the biggest thing as well, do not give Ferreira the opportunities. Don't give him big opportunities. Don't give him big moments to win, because that's where he wins these fights, and that's where he always wins these fights. It's in those big, massive moments. He's like a lorry. If he crashes into you, you're donezo. The best thing is stay on the footpath, stay away from him, maybe slash his tires as he walks back, as he goes past sort of thing. Well, he stops and put a nail under the tire or something. That's how you stop him. That's how you stop him. You don't stand in front of a truck and wait for it to hit you, And that is exactly, that's the best analogy I've ever had. That's exactly what Ferreira is. He really is. He's an absolute an animal of a man. An animal of a man. You can't do that. And Greene, you would say then, Shawnee, what do you do with the offensive part for Greene? And that's a tough one. Maybe you play a cardio game, a longer game. Maybe you play to your strengths. He's been to a decision 7 times. Now he's lost 5 of those, granted, but play that game. Play it long. Run and run and run and run around, and hopefully he wilts where you don't. When you're that much of an underdog, you have to do things like that. There could be 3 million quid on the line here, there really could be. So I think that's what you do. But having said that, I fancy the front kick up through the middle. I fancy the big right hand from Ferreira, and I fancy it early, if I'm being honest. Right, let's talk about the next heavyweight fight. This one is almost the exact, in fact, it is the exact same, minus 750 for Goltsov, Heiderman plus 550. Look, Heiderman is not a bad fighter at all at 7-0. He went in there in the last fight against Patrick Brady. Look, it was a knee injury and ended pretty quickly in the first round. He'd beaten some good guys in LFA. I remember watching him going into that fight and thinking, well, I fancy... I like Patrick Brady, right? But Patrick Brady is the type of guy who like... I think he's... Let me just check here again. I think he's around 39. Yeah, 39 years of age. He's the type of guy who, with 6 fights in, if he delivered... or discovered MMA, 15 years earlier, could have been a very good fighter. But just when you go up against a guy Heiderman, who's 31 years of age, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. What I would say about him is he's a good, well-rounded fighter. He's a heavyweight, so he hits hard. Granted, he has good submissions. I think he has... I think he's 3 submissions in his record, and 3 different submissions. So he's a key lock, an arm triangle, and a rear naked choke, which is good to see, a little bit of a mix. So you're not, you might look at someone's record and go, oh, well, he's won 7 via submission and 6 of them rear naked choke. And well, look, don't let this lad take my back and it might be all right. But when it's that, it's a little bit different now. The problem is here who he's fighting, right? And he's fighting Denis Goltsov, who is... one of the best fighters in the PFL ever. To be honest, he's absolutely brilliant. Still only 33 years of age as well. He's taken everyone out in the last few years, I suppose, apart from the 2 champs who are Ishii and Danilo. Since all the way back in Wint 2017, he's beaten Jurgen de Castro, Cesar Ferreira, Maurice, Greene. He's beaten Satoshi, Ishii, Jared, Rosholt, and many, many more as well. Even gone back before that, he was fighting the likes of James McSweeney, the likes of Paul Buonatello, fear the consequences. Mike Kyle or Brett Rogers, all the old school UFC Strikeforce type of guys, and beating all of them on his way up. And even in the early days, he fought Alexander Volkov. I think he started off his career 3-3 and had some, very good guys in the middle of that. He fought, who else did he fight? I don't know. He fought some good guys anyway in the middle of that. But look, Goltsov these days, he's just strong everywhere. He's a strong wrestler. He'll take you down. But you look at the Jurgen de Castro fight, knockout with a punch. You look at the Cesar Ferreira fight, knockout with a punch, both in the first round. Obviously Greene went a little bit longer and did what he does, I suppose, more against Greene than the other 2 lads. And you'd expect it maybe to go a bit longer. But having said that, as well, you look at Goltsov's record. He's only 6 decisions and 31 wins. Only lost 1 decision. 25 wins inside the distance, and maybe you don't necessarily always think that of him, because he's gone to decision. I said Maurice Greene gone to decision with Ante Delia in his last 2 of his last 5-6 fights. So 5 fights in fact. But I think in this one, if you're Heiderman, right, you have to do all you can to kind of use your, I suppose, youth, even though he's not that much younger than him. You have to, again, I said in the last fight with Greene, you have to kind of stay away from Ferreira. And when I stay away from maybe his length. But if you can get close up inside, do it. If you can take him down, do it. If you can make the fight a more grueling fight, do it. For Heiderman, the problem against Goltsov is you don't really have that option, do you? You're going in here against the guy who's knocking lads out in the first round, but is also happy enough to pull you to the ground and tear your arm off, or ground and pound you, or whatever he needs to do. What are the options for Heiderman? Look, you're a big, strong heavyweight. Your option is always to get a knockout. Your option is to get a takedown and get on top and submit him. But he's fighting Denis Goltsov here. It's just going to be so difficult for him. It's a task that I don't think many people would like to have. But look, he's there. He has that task now, and we'll see how it goes for him. I'm definitely going to be picking Goltsov in that one, and I think he will get the job done, relatively early, I would say, in that. Right, let's talk about the as I like to call them, the women's heavyweights. Although they're featherweight this year, not lightweight, so maybe the women's light heavyweights. We have Larissa Pacheco and Olena Kolesnyk, and then Marina Mokhnatkin against Amanda Leibrock. The lines for those two fights are massive favourite. Larissa Pacheco minus 900 plus 600 for Kolesnyk. Mokhnatkin, interesting. This might be a little bit of a flyer here. We'll see, but Mokhnatkin minus 450 plus 325. Obviously, these are coming out early in the week, so these lines can change. Keep an eye on them, and you'll see the updated lines on screen anyway. My good man John Brannigan always gets the updated lines there. Look, two interesting fights. You look at Olena Kolesnyk and Larissa Pacheco, and look, it's hard to see a way for Kolesnyk to win that one. She has been good over the last while. She had a great win over Aspen Lad. She had a great win over Yoko Higashi last time out. Now the Aspen Lad one was, a majority decision, and I do think she deserved to win it. But if you look at her record, like her last two losses are both to Larissa Pacheco, and she's unfortunately drawn Larissa Pacheco again. Pacheco knocked her out, what was it, in the first round twice. So look, what does she need to do? It's very hard. She needs to tie up and probably judo throw her and try to get her to the ground. I think we'll have a similar thing in the second matchup, which I'll talk about in a second. But she's fought Kayla Harrison 4 times now. Like, you couldn't meet someone who was prepared for that game plan more than she has. And now the last time she did it, she was ultra successful doing it. So what are your options here? This is as close to a guarantee as you can. I think someone, and I believe it was Leibrock that fought her last time. I gave Leibrock a bit of a chance going in there. I picked her as my flyer of the week, I think, at plus 900, because she can land that one big shot, and Pacheco does eat that big shot the odd time, so there is that, but Kolesnyk doesn't really have that in her either. Now she has 4 knockouts in her 9 wins, which is a pretty good record, but all of them came in the first 5 fights of her career. All of them. Has had none since 2017, when she stepped up in competition and went to Invicta and then into the PFL. It's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. And that the pick there has to be Pacheco. She's going to stop any advantages. She'll probably get a takedown, and if she doesn't, she'll probably get a knockdown and on top and land a few shots of ground and pound. And that'll be that, I would think there. I don't think there's too much needed in that one. The Leibrock-Mokhnatkin fight, though, could be a little bit more. Just to give you the betting line on that again, minus 450 plus 325. Anyone who listened to my predictions earlier in the year, I gave, I believe, and no, correct me if I'm wrong, but I gave Leibrock to beat Martina Jindrova, and she did knock her out there. Like, going back and watching her fights, I was very impressed. Like, even in a couple of her losing outings, she hits hard. She's big and tall and long for the division at 5'11". Mokhnatkin is only 5'6". Again, you look at Mokhnatkin and you look what she does, and you probably think, oh God, she's pretty useful judoka. Again, even more so than Kolesnyk. But then, look, the division has been dominated, or the division above, but that division, the same thing, by Kayla Harrison for the last while. So, like, you can only get so far. Her way forward is going to be that way forward. It's going to be get Leibrock to the clinch, judo throw her, take her down. She's won her last 4 in a row. She beat Abigail Montez in the middle of that. It was Kayla Harrison again was the only one to beat her in PFL. Since she came over from Bellator in 2021, she's won every fight ever since. So she'll have to be, and as the betting line showed, the big favourite coming in here. I just like Leibrock, honestly. She's a live dog as a knockout artist underdog. She really, really is. And we'll see when the betting odds come out later in the week. But, I'll pick Leibrock. Go on. I'll go out on the limb here and I'll pick Leibrock. Look, don't listen to my picks, please. Look, I'm looking flyer here. I'm looking ahead to my flyer, and this might be my flyer. Even when the odds out, if the odds come out of the knockout, the props aren't out yet. But unless they are, hold on, let me check. No, the props are not out yet. So yeah, I fancied this year Leibrock to do something special. Now she did do something special, I suppose, in the fight against Shindrova, where people weren't expecting it. Not a totally dissimilar matchup here, you would say. But look, Mokhnatkin is the favourite. She's right to be favourite. But I do, as I said, I do think Leibrock is a live dog. Let me read you the rest of the lines, and I will give you my quick picks for them. I like Daiqwon Buckley over Louie Sutherland. He's minus 170 plus 140. We'll take I'll read the lines first and then we'll take a closer look. Maria Mazar plus 190 minus 240 for Caitlin Neal. Anthony Wint plus 145. Abraham Bali minus 175. Chris Mixan minus 260. Eddie George plus 200. And then we have Ireland's Nathan Kelly at minus 275. Damon Nielsen at plus 215. Also on the card here, I believe, and there's no odds for it out yet, but I'm looking here in Sherdog, and Satoshi Ishii against Danilo Marques is on this, and you know, there's a good few heavyweight fights on this. The Wint Buckley fight is also a heavyweight fight, and the Buckley Sutherland fight, a heavyweight fight. And I'm sure they're thinking, like, if someone gets injured here or whatever, we will want someone to, you know, to step in. We all know Ishii now. Satoshi Ishii, 36 years of age, has been around for a long time. The former Olympian, isn't he? Yeah, with a lot of submissions. And, you know, he hasn't fought since last year, but he did win last year, and he won in 2021 as well. Lost to Stuart Austin in 2020, and as everyone knows, like, Stuart Austin, not the best fighter in the world, but he was in PFL before, lost to Goltsov and lost to Jared Rosholt, so we'll see how that goes. I suppose fighting Danilo Marques, the ex-PFL, well, current PFL fighter, but ex-UFC fighter who fought the likes of Kindi Njukwu and Jelton Almeida over there, you know, has beaten Jorgen De Castro this year, Marcelo Nunes as well, so it's good to see that fight going. I think Marquez will probably have enough for him, but I suppose we'll see on that one. The Sutherland Buckley fight, as I said, Buckley is the favourite there. He's training out of Scranton MMA. When we've seen a few fighters from there recently on cards, I think who's the one? I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I remember seeing it only because of The Office. There you go. But yeah, Louie Sutherland coming over from the UK, and you know, he's not had the most fights in the world. He's had a lot of knockouts, and I suppose somewhat of an unknown coming in here. He was on the Challenger Series and got a knockout there as well, so that's an interesting one. And I suppose as we look ahead to next year, we'll see who is going to be on it there. Bali against Wint, then Wint only one fight into his career. Abraham Bali coming over as well from the UK, fighting out of Manchester top team, who have a very good team up there. He had a couple of fights on the Challenger Series as well. I actually beat Louie Sutherland, the aforementioned, and you know, has a pretty good knockout record, I suppose, in his career. And then we have Anthony Wint, who used to play for the New York Jets, I believe, if my reading of the jerseys on Sherdog is correct. He made his pro debut in April, got a big knockout there. He's had 3 fights as an amateur as well, so that should be interesting to see. He's probably a good athlete, I would believe there. But the one that stands out for me, actually, before we get to the one that stands out for me, Chris Mixan and Eddie George is an interesting one. George fighting out of the Fight Arts Academy. He's 6-1 in his career, and you know, 4 knockouts. A lot of guys here coming from this CES scene, and you know, they're really turning into a great place to produce fighters, I suppose. Mixan has had his few shots on the PFL Challenger Series and taken them every time. He's won both of them before he went out, and he won a fight elsewhere. You know, he's a guy who's a finisher as well. I could see a knockout there in that one, and I'm going to go for Mixan to win that. But Nathan Kelly against Damon Jackson, obviously a tad biased here, but look, the sounds of it all are that Nathan Kelly is going to be in a tournament next year. And, you know, he's had a few opportunities now. He's getting on this. You would very much think he's going to be on the Irish card that's coming up in December. 4-month turnaround should be absolutely perfect. I watched a bit of Damon Nelson, and you know what? what I would say is he's a good technical fighter. You know, he can fight all around. He's a good bit of a jab. Maybe not the most powerful guy in the world, although we've only, seen 7 fights and he's a 4-3 record, so not the best record in the world. He's lost his last 2, but, you know, I suppose he's been in there and went long and all of them, and always competitive, undefeated as an amateur as well, 4-0 as an amateur. And I suppose maybe the opposite route has been taken from Nathan Kelly, who, you know, he was, don't get me wrong, he was a good amateur and has some very good wins and very good fights as well. He beat Kieran Clark as an amateur, his teammate now. He beat Jack Maguire, you know, one of the top Irish amateurs at the time, and Andrum Gould as well, you know, and he lost a few in there as well. Lost to Richie Smullen, lost to Shaib Yousaf over in the IMAFs, you know, but made his pro debut and lost his first 2 fights at Cage Legacy and at Bama back in 2017, 2018 respectively. And it was a big turnaround coming from there. I remember I watched him before his Bellator debut, and he was 3-2 at the time. And I remember thinking, and actually before that, he fought Shimrock at Clan Wars, and someone reminded me at the weekend that Shimrock was like the favourite coming into that, and, you know, he shocked a lot of people, and that was a massive turning point for him. Going into the Scott Pedersen fight at Bellator, Scott Pedersen, a very, very good fighter, tough guy, and Nathan Kelly went in and he beat him, and I was like, okay, here we go, there's a little bit of change. He had a fight over at Centurion, where he won that very well as well, and then he came in, and that Ben Ellis performance was really, really, really good, where he finished him in the first round. And in the Zachary Hicks fight, on the Challenger Series, where he decimated him in 2.5 minutes. I don't think that was a fight, if people were probably watching, where he didn't take a punch. And this is a guy, like, you watch his first 2 fights and thinking, you know, maybe he's going to be good. There's obvious talent there, but, like, I don't know, does he? And then he comes out and he just win after win after win. But not even that, like, because that can happen, but performance after performance after performance. Very good athlete, very good wrestler, calm, good jiu-jitsu, striking is improving all the time now. He's 6 finishes in his 7 fights, evenly spaced out between knockouts and submissions. Honestly, and I'll admit this, because I'll admit I was wrong, like, I wasn't hopeful of Nathan Kelly as being one of the next big things coming out of Ireland. I really wasn't, but now I am, you know, and I think he is a very, very good fighter, and I'm looking forward to seeing this matchup, and I'm looking forward to seeing who they maybe pair him with in December as well, in the card I will be at over in Ireland. I'm definitely picking him to win this one. In fact, a spoiler alert, I think this might be one of my bets of the week, because this minus 275, that's a fantastic price, an absolutely fantastic price. All right, I will leave it there. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. It's another good PFL card this week, and we will leave it there. Before I go, though, people are always giving out to me for kind of not giving my picks at the right time, so I'm going to give all my picks right now. So if someone says in the comment section, I can tell them. I'm going for Ferreora, I'm going for Pacheco, I'm going for Goltsov, I'm going for Leibrock, I'm going for Nathan Kelly, Mixan, Buckley, I'll go for Mazar, the underdog there, plus 190, and I'll go for Daiqwon Buckley as well in that one. All right, everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.